David met Maya on a dating app. For 3 months, they talked every day, late into the night, about work, about loneliness, about the parts of themselves they usually kept hidden. She understood him in ways no one ever had. So when they finally agreed to meet in person, David believed he already knew her. But the woman who sat across from him that day wasn't the woman he had fallen for. And the choice Maya made out of fear didn't just test David's feelings. It broke his trust. This is a story about love, fear, and what it really costs to hide who we are. David sits alone in his apartment, the glow of his laptop illuminating his face. He's an architect, 32, tired of designing beautiful spaces for other people's lives while his own feels empty. On his screen, another dating profile. Another woman asking what he does for a living before asking what makes him laugh. He closes the laptop. Opens it again. One more try. Her profile is simple. Maya. No Instagram perfect photos, just one genuine smile. Her bio reads, "I believe in conversations that last past midnight and coffee that's gone cold because you forgot to drink it." He messages her. Doesn't expect much. She replies 3 minutes later, "Architecture, huh? So you design spaces for people to exist in. Do you ever wonder what spaces design us?" He stares at the message. No one's ever asked him that. They talk until 3 in the morning. Over the next 3 months, Maya becomes the best part of David's day. Not just messages, real conversations. She asks about the buildings he's designing and why he chose certain materials. She tells him about her work as a graphic designer, how she thinks about negative space the way he thinks about light. Late one night, he tells her about his ex-girlfriend. She loved the idea of dating an architect. The dinner parties where she could say, "My boyfriend designed that building." But she never once asked me what I actually loved about the work. Maya's response comes slowly, like she's choosing each word. Some people collect partners the way they collect furniture. Impressive pieces to fill a room. "I'm sorry she didn't see you." He reads it 3 times. Feels seen. But they've never met. Every time he suggests it, she has a reason. A deadline at work. A family obligation. Nothing that sounds like an excuse, but 3 months of almost meeting starts to feel like a pattern. Still, he waits. She's worth waiting for. Maya sits in her apartment, her wheelchair positioned by the window where the light is best. Her laptop is open to David's last message, "I know you're busy, but I'd really love to meet you. Even just for coffee. I feel like we've been building something, and I want to see your face when you laugh at my terrible jokes in person." Her hand hovers over the keyboard. Types. Deletes. Types again. Her twin sister Nina walks in, sees Maya's face. "You're going to have to meet him eventually." "I know. So why don't you?" Maya gestures at her wheelchair with a bitter laugh. "Because this is easier. Online, I'm just Maya. The girl who understands negative space and asks good questions. Not Maya who needs accessible restaurants and gets stared at in public." Nina sits on the couch. "You don't know how he'll react." "Exactly. And right now, I have something perfect. Why risk it? Because it's not real if he doesn't know all of you." Maya looks at her sister. They're identical, same dark hair, same sharp intelligence in their eyes. But Nina moves through the world differently. Stands differently. Lives differently. An idea forms. Dangerous. Stupid. But maybe. What if you met him first? Maya says quietly. Just to see. Just to gauge if he's the kind of person who could handle this. Nina stares at her. Maya. That's insane. One coffee. You see how he reacts to you, to someone who looks like me. If he seems shallow, if he's only interested in surface things, then I know. And I can walk away before I get hurt. Nina shakes her head. This is a terrible idea. Please. And because they're sisters, because Nina has watched Maya cry over men who couldn't see past the wheelchair, she agrees. David arrives at the cafe early. It's autumn, almost winter, that in-between time when the air bites but the sun still tries. He's wearing his good jacket. He's nervous. Then he sees her walking toward him. Dark hair, bright eyes, that smile from the photo. His heart lifts. Maya. She smiles. David. Hi. They hug. It feels, almost right. Almost familiar. He can't explain the tiny discordance he feels, like a note played just slightly off-key. They sit. A waiter approaches, young, probably a student. Nina barely glances at him. Espresso. Double shot. The waiter lingers, clearly about to ask David for his order. Nina cuts him off without looking up. That's all for now. David orders his coffee when the waiter turns to him, making eye contact, thanking him. He notices Nina's dismissiveness. Maya had told him once about working as a barista in college, how it taught her that everyone's fighting a battle you can't see. This doesn't match that story. But maybe she's nervous. He lets it go. They talk. Nina is good at this, she knows her sister's stories, has heard Maya talk about David for months. But she adds her own spin. Sharper. More confident. So, architecture, Nina says, leaning back. That must be lucrative. What kind of money are we talking? David blinks. Maya never asked about money. She asked about meaning. It varies. Right now I'm designing a community center for a nonprofit. It's not glamorous, but... A nonprofit? She says it like he just told her he volunteers at a petting zoo. That's sweet. The word sweet lands wrong. Condescending. You want to order food? David asks. There's that Thai place nearby you mentioned. Just coffee for me. She checks her phone. I'm meeting friends later for drinks anyway. Drinks. Maya told him she rarely drank, said she didn't like losing control of her thoughts. He'd found it endearing. Nina pulls out a pack of cigarettes. Mind if I step outside for a second? David stares at the cigarettes in her hand. You smoke. She's already standing. Sometimes. Stress relief. She walks to the patio. David sits alone at the table. Maya told him she hated cigarettes. That her mother died of lung cancer. That she couldn't stand the smell. He watches Nina through the window, lighting up, exhaling smoke into the cold air. Something is very wrong. Nina returns, smelling of smoke. They try to continue the conversation, but David is somewhere else now. Watching. Measuring. David sets down his coffee. Looks at her directly. Tell me about your college roommate. The one who taught you to cook at 2 a.m. Nina's smile falters. Oh, yeah. That was fun. What was her name? A beat too long. Sarah. You told me her name was Jennifer. Silence. And that dish she made, the one with the weird ingredient. What was it? Nina's eyes dart. I don't, it's been a while, David. Cardamom. She put cardamom in tomato sauce and you said it was surprisingly perfect. Nina takes a sip of her espresso, buying time. Right. Cardamom. David stands. His voice is quiet, controlled. Who are you? What? You're not Maya. Nina's face drains of color. David. He left money on the table. Didn't wait for her reply. Outside, the city felt louder than before. Behind him, Nina sat alone, cigarette burning down between her fingers, realization dawning too late. She pulled out her phone. Typed one sentence. I think I made things worse. David walks for blocks. He doesn't know where he was going, only that he couldn't sit still. The city unfolds around him in fragments, traffic lights, passing conversations, the rhythm of footsteps that aren't his. He isn't angry yet. Anger came later, once things had names. Right now there is only dissonance, the exhausting effort of reconciling two incompatible truths. The woman he met had looked like Maya. Sounded like Maya. Shared her face, her voice, her gestures. But she hadn't been Maya. At home, he doesn't turn on the lights. He drops his jacket over a chair and sits on the edge of the couch, phone in his hand. He opens their message thread. Scrolls back. Weeks of conversation unfurl, not flirtation, not small talk, but inquiry. Curiosity. Care. He reads with new eyes now. The pauses. The precision. The way Maya asked follow-up questions instead of redirecting the conversation back to herself. None of that had been present at the cafe. He opens his laptop. Types her name into the search bar. He isn't snooping, he tells himself. He is looking for coherence. Her design portfolio comes up first. Clean. Thoughtful. Minimalist without being cold. This was her. Then an image tab. A photo from a gallery opening. Two women stood side by side, arms around each other, faces identical enough to be unmistakable. The caption read, "Celebrating my brilliant twin sister, Nina." David leaned back. Twins. He clicks Nina's profile. Public. Non-curated. Photos of crowded bars, cigarettes between fingers, wine glasses raised in laughter. The woman from the cafe. He switches back to Maya's profile. More restrained. Fewer images. But in one photo, half-cropped, almost accidental, he saw it. A curved metal edge. A wheel. The room seems to tilt. He sits very still as understanding assembled itself piece by piece. The woman he'd met hadn't been Maya. For 3 months, he had believed he was talking to someone who chose honesty the way he did, carefully, deliberately, even when it was hard. Now he felt something colder than disappointment settle in. Betrayal. He typed. Deleted. Typed again. We need to talk. The reply came almost immediately. Okay. He stood, pulled on his jacket again, keys heavy in his hand. I'm coming over, he writes. If that's all right. There is a long pause. Then, I'm not ready. He closes his eyes. I think we're past ready, he replies. Please. Several minutes pass. The 3 dots appear. Disappear. Then the address. David leaves without another word. He doesn't know yet how deeply this would cut. David stands outside Maya's apartment building. It's accessible, ramps, wide doors, automatic buttons. He'd driven past it once before without thinking about what that meant. He buzzes her apartment. Hello. Her voice through the intercom. Maya. It's David. The door buzzes open. He takes the elevator to the 3rd floor. She's waiting in her doorway, in her wheelchair, hands gripping the armrests like she's bracing for impact. David, I'm so. Don't. His voice is harder than he intended. I need to understand something first. She nods, pulls back into her apartment. He follows. Sees her space for the first time, beautiful, accessible, filled with her design work on the walls. Why? His voice cracks on the word. Why would you do that? I was scared. Of what? That I'd see the wheelchair and run. Is that what you think of me? I didn't know what to think. I've had men, her voice breaks. I've had men who seemed perfect online. Who said all the right things. And then they'd meet me and suddenly they'd remember they had somewhere else to be. Or they'd stay but treat me like a charity project. Like I was something broken they had to fix. So you thought you'd test me? Send your sister to see if I was shallow enough to fail? I needed to know if you could see past. Past what, Maya? Your wheelchair. I fell in love with your mind. Your values. The way you think about design and space and the way you see people. His voice is rising now, 3 months of investment turning to anger. I fell in love with the woman who asked me what spaces design us. Who sent me articles about hostile architecture. Who told me about Jennifer and cardamom pasta at 2 a.m. Tears streamed down Maya's face. But that woman, David's voice breaks. That woman doesn't exist. Because for 3 months, I've been talking to someone who was too afraid to actually show up. Who was so convinced I'd reject her that she rejected me first by sending someone else. I'm sorry. I had a girlfriend who used me. Who saw me as an architect, not as David. As a resume, not a person. Do you know what that feels like? To be with someone who's always calculating what you're worth. He's pacing now. And I thought you were different. I thought finally, I'd found someone who saw me. Who wanted to know me. I did want to know you. I do. Then why didn't you trust me? The question comes out raw. Why didn't you give me the chance to show you who I actually am? You made that choice for me, Maya. You decided I wasn't worth the risk of being honest with. Maya's crying openly now. You're right. I'm sorry. I was selfish and scared and I need to go. David moves toward the door. David, please. He stops. Turns. Looks at her one more time. For 3 months, I thought I was falling in love with you. But I don't even know what's real anymore. He leaves. The door closes behind him. Maya sits alone in her apartment, the sound of his footsteps fading down the hallway, and knows she's just lost the best thing that ever happened to her. 3 days pass. Then a week. David throws himself into work, but his mind keeps drifting. He's designing the community center, the non-profit project, and every line he draws reminds him of her. Negative space. The way absence shapes presence. He goes on a date. A woman from his firm asked him to dinner, and he said yes because staying home alone means thinking about Maya. The woman is perfectly nice. Pretty. Successful. She asks intelligent questions about his work. And David feels absolutely nothing. She talks about a recent promotion. He nods, makes appropriate responses, and realizes halfway through her story that he hasn't heard a single word. He's thinking about Maya's message from 2 months ago, about how success means nothing if you're building something that doesn't matter. I'm sorry, he interrupts. I need to be honest with you. I'm not really here right now. The woman smiles sadly. Someone else? Something like that. She's gracious about it. They split the check. He walks home alone. At home, his phone buzzes. For one wild second, his heart leaps, maybe it's her. But it's just a notification about his fantasy football league. He realizes he does this constantly now. Every notification, every buzz, every ping, he hopes it's Maya. He opens their old message thread. Hasn't deleted it. Scrolls back through 3 months of conversations. Reads her words like he's searching for clues about who she really is. And the truth settles over him slowly, she is real. The woman in these messages, thoughtful, curious, kind, that's Maya. She was just too afraid to show him all of herself. But the lie still burns. The deception still cuts. He wants to reach out. He doesn't know what he'd say. So he does nothing. And the silence grows. Maya hasn't left her apartment in 2 weeks. Nina comes by with groceries, tries to talk to her. Maya barely responds. You should reach out to him, Nina says. Maya shakes her head. He made it clear. I don't even know if I'm real. Those were his last words to me. Maya. He was right, Nina. I did lie. I did take away his choice. Why would he ever trust me again? Nina sits on the couch, guilty and helpless. I'm sorry. If I hadn't agreed. It's not your fault. This is on me. After Nina leaves, Maya sits alone. Opens the dating app on her phone. Stares at it. Then deletes it. Watches the icon disappear from her screen. She believed, for 3 months, that she'd found something real. Someone who saw her. And she destroyed it because she was too afraid to be seen. She pulls up their message thread. Reads his words. Every question he asked. Every joke he made. Every moment he made her feel like she mattered. She types a message, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know. Deletes it. Types again, I'm sorry isn't enough, but. Deletes it. What is there to say? Sorry I lied. Sorry I was scared. Sorry I loved you enough to ruin everything. She sets down the phone. Doesn't send anything. Outside her window, the city moves on. People fall in love. People break up. People take risks and sometimes those risks pay off and sometimes they destroy everything. Maya took a risk once. Ran into traffic to save a child she didn't know. Gave up her ability to walk without a second thought. But she couldn't risk being honest with a man she loved. She wonders which took more courage. 2 weeks becomes 3. Then 4. David walks past the cafe where he met Nina. Doesn't go in. Maya designs a logo for a client. Sends it off. Gets praise. Feels nothing. David's phone buzzes. He checks it immediately. Not her. Maya sees a notification. Her heart jumps. Just a spam email. David's friend asks him what's wrong. You've been different lately. Distant. David shrugs. Just work stuff. But at night, alone, he allows himself to miss her. Allows himself to reread those messages and feel the ache of what he lost. Or what he never really had. He's not sure which anymore. Maya tells Nina she's fine. I'm over it. Moving on. But at night, alone, she cries. Mourns the man who really saw her, and she pushed away. They're both stuck. Both hurting. Both too proud or too scared to reach out first. Neither knows the other is breaking too. 5 weeks after the breakup, David sits across from his mentor, an older architect named Richard who's known him since grad school. You look terrible, Richard says. What's going on? David hesitates. Then tells him everything. The 3 months of messages. The deception. The confrontation. The silence. Richard listens without interrupting. Finally, so what did you actually lose? What? You said for 3 months you thought you were falling in love. Then you found out she lied. But my question is, what did you actually lose? The fantasy of who she was? Or the person who wrote those messages? David opens his mouth. Closes it. Because from what you're telling me, Richard continues, the woman who wrote those messages, she's real. She was just scared. And yes, she handled it badly. She lied. She tested you. But David, has anyone ever made you feel the way she did? No. Then maybe the question isn't whether you can forgive her. Maybe it's whether you can forgive yourself for walking away from something real because it wasn't perfect. David sits with that. She sacrificed her ability to walk to save a kid she didn't know, Richard says quietly. That's who she is. Someone who gives everything to protect others. And then she met you, and she was so afraid of losing you that she tried to protect herself first. Can you really blame her for that? She didn't trust me. No. She didn't trust that anyone could love her as she is. There's a difference. David looks down at his hands. I was so angry. You had every right to be. She violated your trust. But anger isn't the question here. The question is, do you still love her? David doesn't answer. Doesn't need to. Then what are you waiting for? David sits in his apartment that night, phone in hand. Types a message. Deletes it. Types again. Finally, he settles on something simple: I miss talking to you. His finger hovers over send. 3 months of connection. 5 weeks of silence. One message that could change everything or nothing. He sends it. Immediately regrets it. Wants to unsend it. Can't. Stares at his phone. 1 minute. 2. 5. Then, 3 dots appear. His heart hammers. The dots disappear. Reappear. Disappear. Finally, I miss you too. I'm so sorry, David. I know sorry isn't enough, but... He types back, can we talk? In person? Dots again. Then, are you sure you want to? Yes. A pause. Then, when? Tomorrow. I can come to you. Okay. Tomorrow. David sets down the phone. Breathes. Doesn't know if this will fix anything. Doesn't know if he can forgive her. Doesn't know if they can start over. But he knows he has to try. David stands outside Maya's building again. It's colder now, winter has fully arrived. He's nervous. More nervous than the first time, which feels wrong. This should be easier. He knows what he's walking into now. Except he doesn't. Not really. He buzzes her apartment. Come up. Her voice is small through the intercom. The door buzzes. He takes the elevator. Walks down the hall. She's waiting in the doorway again, but this time she doesn't pull back. This time she meets his eyes. Hi, she says. Hi. They go inside. Sit in her living room, him on the couch, her in her wheelchair, careful distance between them. I've been trying to figure out what to say, Maya starts. I've written 100 different speeches in my head. But I think the truth is just. I'm sorry. And I know that's not enough. David nods. Says nothing yet. I was terrified, Maya continues. I've had men, good men, kind men, meet me and suddenly everything changes. I wouldn't have done that. I know. I mean, I know that now. But David, I've spent 5 years learning that love has conditions. That people say they're open-minded until they actually have to accommodate someone. And I couldn't, her voice cracks. I couldn't bear the thought of you being one of them. So you didn't give me the chance not to be. No. I didn't. Silence. I read about your accident, David says quietly. About the boy. About what you did. Maya's face tightens. That was different. Was it? You ran into traffic without thinking. Gave up everything to save someone. That was instinct. This was fear, David finishes. Which I understand. But Maya, you gave up your legs for a stranger. And you couldn't give me 5 minutes of honesty? The words land hard. Maya flinches. I'm not saying that to hurt you, David adds. I'm saying it because I need you to understand what you did. You tested me. You made your sister pretend to be you. And when I noticed, when I saw through it, you still didn't come clean. You waited for me to figure it out and show up angry at your door. I know. Do you? Because I spent 3 months falling in love with someone who made me feel seen. Who asked questions no one else thought to ask. Who cared about the meaning of things, not just the surface. His voice breaks slightly. And then I found out that woman was too scared to actually exist. To actually show up. Maya's crying now. I know. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I don't know either. David runs his hands through his hair. I'm still angry. I'm still hurt. I feel betrayed, Maya. Because you didn't trust me enough to let me make my own choice about whether I could handle it. You're right. But, David takes a breath. I also can't stop thinking about you. I went on a date. Perfectly nice woman. And I felt nothing. Because she wasn't you. Because for 5 weeks I've been checking my phone hoping you'd reach out, and hating myself for hoping. Maya looks up at him, smiles through her tears. That's cute, she says with a wide smile. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, David says honestly. I don't know if we can fix this. But I know I want to try. Because the woman who wrote those messages, who asked me what spaces design us, she's real. You're real. You were just too afraid to let me see all of you. I'm still afraid, Maya whispers. Me too. They look at each other across the space between them. Broken. Honest. Real. Can we start over? David asks. Not pretend the last 5 weeks didn't happen. But actually start over. With the truth this time. Sounds good, Maya replies. David stands. Extends his hand. Hi. I'm David Morrison. I'm an architect. I design buildings but mostly I design spaces for humans to feel safe in. I've been hurt by people who saw me as an asset instead of a person. And I'm terrified of being hurt again. But I'm here anyway. Maya takes his hand. Holds it. Hi, David. I'm Maya Torres. I'm a graphic designer. I work from home because I like the quiet, and also because sometimes my body doesn't cooperate with the outside world. You are a brave and amazing woman, David replied, and I would love to go on a date with you. Okay, that's fair introduction, Maya says. They both laugh. David sits back down. They are not fixed. Not healed. But present. Honest. Beginning again. 2 weeks later. David picks Maya up for their second first date. An actual date this time. He's researched accessible restaurants, chosen one known for kind staff. She notices. Doesn't say anything, but her eyes soften. They're awkward. Nervous. Like teenagers on a first date, which in a way they are. As they settled into their meal, David says, "Tell me about the accident." Not the news story version. Your version. Maya takes a breath. Wasn't expecting that. You sure you want to start there? I want to start with the truth. All of it. So she tells him. About the volunteer program. About the little boy, Marcus was his name. About the split-second decision. About waking up in the hospital and learning her life would never be the same. I don't regret it, Maya says. Saving Marcus. I'd do it again. But I regret what came after. The men who couldn't see past the chair. The pity. The awkwardness. I started to hate myself for it. For saving a kid. For making people uncomfortable. For being too much work. David reaches across the table. Takes her hand. You're not too much work, Maya. You're amazing, and kind, and brave, a truly beautiful soul. She looks at him with tears in her eyes. You don't know that yet. I do. And I want to find out more. They eat. Talk. Laugh, tentatively at first, then more easily. A waiter brings the check. David thanks him. So does Maya. They catch each other doing it and smile. Do you know, David says, that your sister was rude to the waiter on that fake date? That's when I first knew something was off. Nina means well. She's just, different from me. Very different. She also said the neighborhood had gone downhill when we met a homeless man. Maya winces. She said that? Yeah. And I thought about that article you sent me. About hostile architecture. I remember that article. I was so angry. I know. That's when I knew you were someone who actually saw people. Who cared about the invisible ones. He squeezes her hand. That's who I fell in love with. Maya squeezes back. I'm sorry I didn't trust that. They leave the restaurant. David walks her to his car. Opens the door. Waits while she transfers from her wheelchair. Folds the chair without making a big deal of it. Gets in the driver's seat. That was smooth, Maya says. I watched a YouTube video. She laughs. You watched a YouTube video? 3, actually. I wanted to get it right. David Morrison, did you research how to be a good boyfriend to someone in a wheelchair? Is that weird? It's the least weird thing anyone's ever done for me. He drives her home. Walks her to her door. Thank you, Maya says. For giving us another chance. Thank you for being honest this time. They stand in her doorway. Close but not touching. Both afraid to push too far too fast. Can I see you again? David asks. Yes. Soon. Very soon. He leaves. She watches him go. Wheels inside. Closes the door. Leans against it. For the first time in 5 years, Maya genuinely feels butterflies in her belly. Love doesn't arrive all at once. It assembles itself quietly, the way good design does, through choices that make life easier instead of louder. David starts bringing his drafts home. Maya sits beside him, pointing out what he missed. Who's this for? She'd ask, tapping the screen. Who can't use it? Sometimes he'd sigh. Sometimes he'd redraw the whole thing. They argue occasionally, about timing, about independence, about when help became interference. They always came back. Weeks later, as they crossed paths on a quiet sidewalk, Nina appears unexpectedly, cigarette unlit in her hand, grin already forming. Well, Nina says, eyeing them both. I guess I don't have to memorize obscure pasta spices anymore. Maya groans. David laughs. Nina nods toward the chair. Toward the way David stood without leaning away or in. Looks like you passed the test. David raises an eyebrow. I didn't know I was taking one. Maya squeezed his hand. No more tests. Good, Nina said. I'm terrible at studying. She walked off, waving. 3 weeks in, they're at Maya's apartment. She's working on a design. He's sketching a building. They exist in comfortable silence. I love you, David says suddenly. Maya looks up. What? I love you. All of you. The one who's scared sometimes and brilliant always. The one who saves kids from traffic and designs beautiful things and asks questions that make me see the world differently. Maya sets down her stylus. Wheels over to him. I love you too. David thinks about it. About the lie that started this. About the 5 weeks of silence. About the slow, painful work of rebuilding trust. We're not perfect, he says. But we're real. And I think real is better. Maya smiles. Leans in. Kisses him. A year later. David stands in front of a room full of people, city council members, non-profit leaders, community activists. He's presenting his completed community center design. On the screen behind him, a building designed with radical accessibility. Ramps that don't look like afterthoughts. Doors wide enough for wheelchairs but beautiful enough to win architecture awards. Spaces that welcome everyone. I used to design buildings thinking about the average person, David says. But there is no average person. There are just people. All kinds of people. And if we design only for some of them, we're not designing, we're excluding. He clicks to the next slide. Shows the negative space in his design, how the absences create presence. How what you leave out matters as much as what you include. Someone once asked me, do spaces design us, or do we design spaces? David continues. The answer is both. The spaces we create shape how we move through the world. And the people we love shape how we see it. After the presentation, Maya waits in the back of the room. She watched the whole thing. Watched him present ideas they discussed over late-night coffee. Watched him cite her thinking without taking credit for it. He sees her. Smiles. Crosses the room. You were amazing, she says. I had a good teacher. I just asked a question. And it changed everything. They leave together. Outside, the community center site is already under construction. In 6 months, it will open. A building designed to welcome everyone. A space that sees people. I'm proud of you, Maya says. I'm proud of us, David replies. For starting over. For doing it right this time. Maya laughs. Takes his hand. They walk through the city together, past buildings that weren't designed for her, past spaces that forgot to consider her. But she's not alone anymore. She has someone who sees the world through her eyes now. Who designs with her in mind. And David has someone who taught him that love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up. Being honest. Choosing each other even when it's scary. They passed the cafe where it all went wrong. Where Nina sat across from David and he knew something was off. Should we go in? Maya asks. Face our demons? Our demons or your sister's cigarettes? She laughs. Both. They go inside. Sit by the window where the light is good. Order coffee. Outside, the city moves on. People make choices. Some people play it safe. Some people take risks. They sit in the cafe as the afternoon light shifts. Not perfect. Not without scars. But together. Honest. Real. And sometimes, real is all you need. If this story stayed with you. If you've ever walked away from someone you loved because trust was broken. Or held back a part of yourself out of fear of being seen. Subscribe to our channel for stories about kindness, compassion, humanity, and second chances.